But I remember looking in the mirror and being like, oh my gosh, I have full-on acne. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Marla. I've struggled on and off with acne for the course of about 2 years. Growing up, I had the occasional like pimple or the occasional like even breakout throughout high school. I remember I think it was my junior year of high school, my skin started getting pretty bad, so I went on Curology, and Curology helped a lot, and so that cleared up my skin, and that was pretty much it. My senior year of high school, I had really clear skin up until the pandemic. Actually, I even had clear skin during the pandemic. But pretty much today's video is gonna be all about Accutane and my Accutane experience and journey, and like how it's kind of evolved and how I got onto the pill, how I was when I was on the pill, and then my experience so far after it. So if you're curious in hearing anything about Accutane, then this is the video for you. So let's just like get started into it. So I'm gonna give a quick rundown of my acne experience before I started Accutane. I feel like I had pretty clear skin like just growing up. Sometimes I'd get like a cystic acne, like just bump, and it would be like under the skin and it would hurt so bad, but it wasn't very frequent and it wasn't that big of a deal. Once the pandemic hit, we even started wearing masks. I remember being kind of concerned about my skin, but I feel like my skin stayed clear throughout wearing masks. It wasn't until February of 2021. February of 2021, I remember I had started nail school. I was wearing a mask the entire day, plus all of like the nail dust, and it was pretty hot and stuffy in the room that I'd work in. And I feel like I would go home from school every day and I'd take off my mask and my skin would look slightly like textured. There wasn't a lot of like active pimples. It just looked like stuff was forming underneath my skin. And it just sucked because I feel like I had no choice but to continue wearing the mask, and like I didn't know what cleansers to wear. I didn't know if I should be seeing a dermatologist. It just like all this acne was new to me. It was then in April of 2021, I remember we went on a family road trip, and I think I had picked up my skin when I came back from the road trip, but I remember looking in the mirror and being like, oh my gosh, I have full-on acne. Like my entire face is covered. This is the photo here. I just remember, and it's funny because looking back at this photo, it looks like I had a few bad pimples that I made even worse by picking at it, which just don't pick at your skin. It's never gonna do anything good. Anyway, so that's when I was like, okay, I have full-on acne right now and my skin is the worst it's ever been and it doesn't seem to be getting better. So I decided to go to a dermatologist in May of 2021. So my dermatologist put me on a pill. I forget what it's called, but pretty much he's like, within 6 weeks, you should start to see like significant improvement in your skin, and this should pretty much clear you up. So I was like, okay, that sounds great. I remember I got put on this pill and then we went on another vacation to New York. And I remember it had been probably about 4 or 5 weeks of me being on this medication. I kid you not, every single time I put on even moisturizer, literally like a gentle moisturizer, my skin would be on fire. Like it would just burn. It felt like I was putting acid on my face. Like I've never been so sensitive with my skin before until I'd been on that medication, and I was just like, this is not okay. I literally dread doing my skincare routine because it's burning every single time. I'm like, that's not normal. So I'll insert this photo here. I remember we were in New York and I was like, my skin's still, this was in the bathroom of the hotel room. It's funny looking back at these skin photos because like I felt so gross about my skin, but like little did I know like how much worse my skin would get, which is a little scary, honestly. Like I'm looking, I'm like, okay, obviously it doesn't look good and it's not clear, but like Accutane really did me dirty. But also I'm so happy I'm filming this video. I literally used to binge watch these type of videos all the time, like during my Accutane journey, especially before I started. And so it's so fun that I'm finally making my own. I pretty much ended up getting off of that medication from my dermatologist. And then when I had gone back to my appointment, he was like, okay, so that didn't work for you clearly. And I was like, well, duh. He was like, do you want to go on Accutane now? And I had very few encounters with Accutane. I didn't know many people had been on it. I just heard of it before, and the few things that I had heard about it were pretty awful, honestly. So I was like, no, I don't want to go on that. And so I just remember he started reading me the side effects for Accutane, and it was like insomnia, hair loss, depression, anxiety, weight gain. And I was like, okay, I'm like, I have a few bad pimples, but like that is not worth it. So I just completely ex-nayed like Accutane. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. That's way too intense. So then I decided to try more of like a holistic route with like, I think the food that I was eating, like cutting out dairy. I never was really extreme about my diet, and I don't feel like I did much to change that, which I probably should have. I pretty much proceeded to then go to a skin esthetician. So for all of the summer of 2021 to the summer of 2022, for that full year, I went to an esthetician in Salt Lake City, Utah. It's called the Skin Therapy is what it's called, and they pretty much do extractions and then they do a chemical peel on me and then I'd come back in 3 weeks and they'd do it again. They'd extract my skin. And if you don't know what an extraction is, they literally like pop your pimples, but it's like professional popple pimping. I just said popple pimping. It's like professional pimple popping. And so what it does is it helps to remove the gunk from underneath your skin to help prevent new pimples from forming, but you're doing it in like a sterile, safe way. Because when you pick at your own skin, you're likely like causing a lot more skin damage underneath. And so that ends up causing scarring and it just makes your acne worse. So my skin got significantly clearer by the end of this year, which a year is a long time, but I feel like within the first couple of months, I was noticing progress. And that's why I was continuing to go to this skin place, because it was very expensive and I was paying out of pocket, but I feel like I was seeing results. And so I was like, I'm gonna continue going here. So I literally can insert the photo of what my dermatologist had given me. He had given me a topical product called clindamycin in the morning, and then at night it was called Arazlo. I was seeing results with this like skin esthetician, but it was bloody expensive, literally so expensive. This is a photo I took after I got out of the shower. But this was in September of 2021, and this is when I was like, my skin's looking a lot clearer and it felt really good. So that was super exciting. I proceeded to go to that skin esthetician, like I said, periodically throughout the next year. And very expensive, like I said, but it was worth it because my skin was clear. So I was like, this is fine. The issue started happening again when I moved to Thailand in the fall of 2022. And Thailand's a beautiful country. It's also a very, very hot country, super humid. And I was pretty nervous getting off of like, because I'm gonna have to stop going to my esthetician. So I stopped going to her, and I was pretty nervous that all of my acne would come back, and my fears were pretty accurate because it did. And I honestly think if I would have gotten off my esthetician and just continued to live in Utah where it's pretty dry, I think I would have maybe been fine. But I think it was the combo of me getting off and then moving to a super humid country. I also occasionally had to wear masks when I was teaching on the school campus. So the humidity plus the masks, once again, my skin texture was just getting worse and worse. And I was like, this sucks. So now I'm living in Thailand and I have a few roommates, and one of them has a cousin that was on Accutane. Actually, one of my roommates had been on Accutane too, and her skin was super clear. So I was like, okay, I was trying to get the feeler out. I was like hearing what, you know, everyone had to say on their opinions of Accutane, because now I was trying to reconsider it. And I heard a very wide variety of experiences from it. I had friends that were like, there's no issue at all. I went on it, I was dry, but like, you know, then that was it. And then I had another friend, this is the trigger warning of suicide. If you don't want to hear about it, then you can fast forward. But I did have one of my friends, she said that her cousin pretty much became very suicidal while on Accutane. And that experience, when she had told me, definitely took me like a step back from Accutane, where I was like, okay, that is not worth it. I'm like going on this medication. So while I was still living in Thailand, like I knew that honestly, before I'd even moved to Thailand, I think I'd considered heavily going on Accutane. But then living in Thailand, when my skin was getting worse, I was like, okay, I really need to go on Accutane. But then hearing some of those experiences, I was like getting more and more freaked out. But I definitely made it a matter of prayer. And I remember like being very cautious about approaching going on this medication. I think the thing that was the most reassuring to me throughout this entire process was that at the end of the day, it's just a medication. And if I'm not liking the way I'm feeling on it, then I can get off of it. Like I can stop taking it, and that's that. With that kind of frame of mind, I was a lot more open to going on the medication. So December of 2022, this is when the Accutane journey begins. This is what my skin looked like post living in Thailand. Oh my gosh, all these photos. Something like that, if you just don't have acne, then I'm sorry, you just don't get it. But like is literally constantly taking skin progress pics. Like half my camera roll, like being on Accutane, is just me taking photos of my skin. Anytime someone would try to go through my camera roll, I'm like, sorry, there's nothing there that you want to see, because it is literally just photos of my skin. I took a photo of my skin every month on Snapchat, and my December one when I started is honestly, I looked so sad, and it's because I was so sad. I was so sad for a lot of different things. Like I needed therapy for my skin, I needed therapy for my brain, like I needed all these different things, and so it just was a rough time. My skin was so utterly textured. I think that was the thing that was bothering me most, is that my skin, when I'd put on makeup, it would look even worse, because it would just be like this glue, like just complete, it looked bumpy, like my entire face. So I went and got a consultation with my dermatologist at the end of December, and that is when I finally was able to get started with the Accutane process. Typically speaking, Accutane is a medication that is required to have a form of birth control paired with it, because if you get pregnant while on Accutane, it can do serious damage to the baby. It does so much damage to the baby, like it's very inevitable. So that is their biggest thing, is like don't get pregnant while you're on Accutane, which I wasn't concerned about. The nice thing about living in Utah is you're able to do an abstinence pledge. So you don't have to go on a form of birth control, which I wasn't on currently. At the time, I was not on birth control, nor did I want to go on birth control, so I was really happy about that. But because of that, they need to get your insurance approval and they need to make sure that like your blood work clears for the next month. And I think you'd have to do that even if you're going on birth control. I'm not completely sure. Just speaking from my own experience. So I had to wait a month before I could actually get started on Accutane. So it wasn't until end of January. It was actually February 1st is when I took my first pill. This is now, I'm gonna insert like, this is the month of February. Yeah, like those photos where I thought my skin like looked bad in like 2021, looking at these photos, I'm like, I had no clue what was coming. So I've been on Accutane for about 2 weeks. Something that I wish someone would have told me with Accutane when I started was that I needed to be patient. My dermatologist, no hate to him, but something I will say I was a little disappointed with in his approach to Accutane was that he had very much kind of alluded to the idea that I was going to be clear within like, I could possibly be clear within a month, which maybe that's true. I possibly could have been, but he was like, yeah, some of my clients, like within a month, they come back, they're completely clear, like month, maybe even 2 months, but he's like, you should be like good to go pretty soon. So with that kind of framework in mind, when I was beginning Accutane, I definitely had very high expectations that even within like the first 2 weeks, I'd start to see significant improvement. And I think it started to feel very discouraging when I was like, wow, my skin looks literally like drastically worse. Spoiler, I ended up being on Accutane for February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. I literally just got off Accutane, so I'm gonna count November because I was taking pills throughout November too. So literally 10 months I was on Accutane, which some people, their typical like Accutane journey is about 6 months max. Like that's what I was seeing most of the time on these YouTube videos where people are talking about their experience. So for me to be on 10 months, it was a very long time, but pretty much March comes around and I just feel like my skin, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's getting worse. There's no signs of improvement. I feel like every single day I was waking up and I was like, I have a new pimple again. Like, how is this possible? I started out in a very low dosage of 20 milligrams every other day in the month of February, and then March I went up to 20 milligrams every day. So this is now me in March. Yeah, my skin was, this is me once again post shower, but I am just being real with you guys. My biggest thing wasn't that like, I didn't fear the side effects of being dry or like even having back pain, or literally like I'd accepted even potentially I was gonna have hair loss. Like I was fine with that. My issue is I didn't want to now feel like I was worsening, like, cause I haven't, okay. Ah, my legs are straight. I don't struggle with clinical depression or anxiety. I do, I don't know. I'm like, I don't know. I definitely like have anxious tendencies and behaviors, but I definitely have experienced anxiety before and have like struggled with different tendencies in my life. But my fear was that I was gonna go on Accutane and that it was gonna worsen all of it and that it was gonna heighten it, or it was gonna even create new anxieties that I didn't have before. And that was like, I did not want to deal with that at all. That was like my biggest no-no for like Accutane, that I was like, that's my deal breaker, is once I start experiencing like signs of or symptoms of like depression or anxiety, like I'm getting out of there. Because I feel like skin health is important and skin health does impact your mental health a lot. Like, trust me, I get that. But I never think your mental health is worth your skin health. Does that make sense? Like I would never want to compromise my mental state of being for the sake of clear skin. So that to me was like my boundary that I feel like I had to set with this medication. But at this point, it'd been about over a month on Accutane, and I hadn't experienced really any like significant mental side effects. I was just now like, my skin's drastically worse, if not the worst that it's ever been, which was a huge bummer to me because once again, I had been told that like maybe in a month I'd be clear. So I was like, what the heck is going on? Okay, so then fast forward to the month of April. Once again, literally just all of these like just skin selfies. Fast forward to the month of April, I remember thinking, because I had a trip at the very beginning of April to visit my roommate Caitlin and her family in Florida, and I was going with my little sister. I was so excited and that was such a fun trip. But I definitely remember thinking like, oh, like maybe I'll kind of have clear skin in April when I go on this trip. I was wrong. I was terribly wrong. Looking at these photos, my skin looks a little bit better than, no, it doesn't. I think for a week I was like, wow, my skin kind of looks a little bit better, and then it got drastically worse again. So on Accutane, they do tell you most of the time that to expect a purge, where when you begin the medication, it's supposed to kind of resurface all of the acne that's potentially in your skin and get it out. And I feel like for me, it kind of went in phases. Every time I upped my dosage, it was like my skin would re-purge, and then it would kind of get a little bit better, and then it would re-purge again. And honestly, that purging didn't stop until like late July, which is crazy to me. But so I'm gonna insert this photo right here. This is me. I'm like significantly tanner in this photo. That is something that I definitely missed this year, is I did not there wasn't one day I like left and came home and felt like, wow, I'm like tan, you know, because I avoided the sun, which is good, and it's a sacrifice. I'm definitely like, I would make it again to have clear skin, but I'm looking forward to this next summer when I can actually enjoy the sunshine. But I definitely feel like on this trip that I went to in Florida in April, I definitely pushed my limits and I did my best. I did not do my best to avoid the sun, so I like got tan, but I think it honestly agitated my skin a lot more. Now that I'm looking back at these photos, I feel like my skin maybe seems a little less inflamed, like it seems like it's beginning to dry out. This is when my side effects started getting worse, with like the dry lips, the dry skin, because honestly it wasn't bad the first couple months. This is when I started getting like the slits on the side of my lips, and like mostly all of Accutane, my dryness concentrated on my chin and my mouth area. So my lips were constantly peeling, and then my chin was constantly peeling, and that was the worst. Like it was never really like my cheeks or my forehead, it was just right here. So now this is May. This is actually on my birthday. Okay, so this is May right here. I feel like my skin looks like it's starting to dry out. This is the ugliest photo I think I've ever seen. Okay, I'm inserting this photo here from May. I wear my Christmas pajamas all year round. This is like, if you can zoom in, literally my lips are so crusty, and feel like I was starting to get a ton of new breakouts on my forehead as well. I think this is when I was realizing like, okay, this is gonna definitely take a little bit longer than I expected. So, cause I was like, maybe I could be done with Accutane by like early July. And like this was now middle of May and my skin was, I feel like, just as bad as when I started. So I was like, okay, maybe not. At this point in May, I was up to now 2 pills a day and then 1 pill a day. So I was taking 40 milligrams a day and then 20 milligrams. Max dosage typically is like 80 milligrams. That's 2 pills a day. For like, if you're average, for your height and weight, for your age. But so I was almost at full dose, but not quite. So then there's June. This is now when I was on full dose. I was getting bloody noses like none other. Like I literally would just breathe wrong and then my nose would be bleeding. So, and it was typically in the morning. But now that I'm looking at these photos right here, I feel like my skin looks a little bit clearer. There's definitely a few really bad breakouts, but this is when I feel like the kind of like gloss of Accutane started to happen. I feel like people have been on Accutane, their skin looks like shiny, and I feel like my skin was starting to do this in June, which is like happy for me to see because I definitely couldn't tell the progress then. Okay, next I'm gonna insert, it's July. I now have been on full dose for a month. I feel like the purging had subsided. And this is me wearing makeup, so don't freak out. Don't get too excited. This is me with makeup in July, very early July, July 3rd. But my skin, I remember being like, this doesn't look horrible. Like, I feel like this looks like I'm just having a bad breakout, but I don't have acne. For me, that was super exciting. I think the thing that I was struggling with the most now though, is like when I take off my makeup, I feel like I still had just a ton of discoloration, and also I still had a few bad breakouts. Plus my lips were crusty, rusty, like literally so gross. This the most shocking part to me is like, I had gotten a boyfriend with these crusty lips. So I'm like, like sus, how did I do that? True love, don't care. Okay, so sorry I'm talking your ear off, I know, but I'm just telling you guys everything. Okay, month of August, this is when I was like, my skin is looking a lot clearer. My breakouts had finally subsided and I was still on full dose Accutane. I'm gonna insert this photo right here. This is when I was like, my skin kind of looks good. This is actually beginning of September. I don't really have any photos from August. Late September is when I was like, my skin I think is clear. It definitely has like, I have scarring, but there's no active breakouts. And you know it's gotten good because I've stopped taking progress pics. I literally like have no more pics after September, which to me is so exciting because I was constantly monitoring my skin. September, I began to now wean off of full dose. I don't like the word wean, but we're gonna still use it. This is when my dermatologist was like, I think you're ready to begin to get off of Accutane. But he's like, I'm also gonna put you on a medication called prednisone. Oh, I forgot to mention. So throughout the summer, I think in July and August, I was on a medication called prednisone. And prednisone, honestly, I don't feel like I noticed any difference being on it, but I also don't, it's kind of hard to tell like what was contributed to like Accutane versus prednisone, like I don't know. But when I got off of that, it was then in September that he was like, okay, I'm now gonna put you on a new medication called spironolactone along with your Accutane medication. So it's now in 2 pills. And he said that spironolactone was gonna help me like transition off of Accutane, so it would help me maintain my clear skin. I will say I've been on spironolactone since September. It's now August, September, October, November. Now this is my 4th month being on it. I'm having issues with my period, so I've currently not been taking any medications for the past like week because I had 3 periods in the month of December. Can you imagine having 3 periods in 1 month? Anyway, so I'm currently off of it because a lot of people in the comment section of my YouTube video were also saying that when they were on spironolactone, they were having issues. So September, October, November, that is when I began to completely taper off of Accutane. So in November, I was taking just like 1 pill every other day. And then by the end of it, he said to only take a pill when I feel like it was needed. So I've taken probably 2 or 3 pills since the end of November. Knock on wood, like things have been pretty good with my skin. I will say with Accutane, I feel like I have kind of now experienced this new like anxiety kind of surrounding skin, and this little anxiousness where if anything it's like remotely seems like it could be a breakout on my skin, I get very kind of anxious about it because I don't want all my acne to come back. But I have a friend that was on Accutane. She's been on it twice, and she had some very reassuring, very wise, simple words, and she pretty much just told me, she was like, Marla, like stop worrying about what's gonna happen to your skin and just take it as it comes. Like if you start to get acne again, then like go back on the medication, like you can figure it out and you'll be fine. Also, the second round of Accutane I hear is always better than the first, but she was like, just enjoy it as it is and as it comes. But as of right now, things have been super good. So that is pretty much my Accutane journey. So the side effects that I mainly experienced was dry lips, slits on the side of my mouth, very dry skin. I would actually get these eczema rashes and patches on my arms. It would just get super red and bumpy and very dry, and there was one time specifically I sprayed perfume on myself and it completely flared it up, and my like it was so agitated. But generally speaking, like those were the extent of those side effects. I would occasionally get lower back pain, and then the side effects that probably sucked the most was I ended up needing to get glasses. So it was around the month of July, end of July, August, I noticed my vision was getting significantly blurrier and it was becoming very difficult for me to read like fine print and like small words, which I don't feel like I've ever struggled with my like vision. So I was like, well, what is going on? But I ended up getting glasses. I've been very good and consistent about putting in my moisturizing eye drops every day, and I feel like my vision's gotten a little bit better since being off, so like I'm really happy about that, but it still isn't very great. So glasses, and then the other thing was I had a significant amount of hair loss. She doesn't really look like it now. Like honestly, like after cutting my hair, everything's fine in the world. But November, like end of October, November, I noticed when I'd shower, my hair clumps would be like, there's a mass amounts of hair on the wall, and I'd shed like in my car, just walking, like all my clothes were covered in hair. And that is when I realized that I was losing a lot of hair. And I was like, my hair is so much thinner. So by honestly end of November, my skin was like, or my hair, I feel like was drastically thinner than when I had first started. I'm gonna see if I can find a photo. This was my hair in the beginning of the year. It's funny because I feel like my hair at the beginning of the year was the thickest it's ever been, because when I lived in Thailand I didn't use any heat on it, and so like my hair, I don't have like the thickest hair in the world or anything, but it definitely was like I had some good hair. I had worked on having some good hair because I was very good at oiling it and like braiding it at night and just not using heat very often on it. Pretty much November, this last month, like I just lost so much hair that I thought it would look better if I chopped it, so I did, and I'm honestly really happy I did because my hair feels already so much better. It's funny because this right here, I don't know if you guys can see this, all of these like baby hairs, this was literally like all bald patches right here, and now the hair is finally growing back, so I'm so happy about that. But already me being off of Accutane, I'm noticing my hair starting to grow back, so I'm so relieved about that because I just feel like my hair shedding is also like subsided quite a bit. So it's not the biggest deal in the world. At the end of the day, those are the side effects that I wanted to have versus having like mental struggles with Accutane. So I don't feel like it really affected me that much emotionally or mentally. Maybe it did and I just wasn't aware of it or aware that that's what was causing it, but typically speaking, I don't feel like I had many issues on that. So, okay, what was your favorite moisturizer and sunscreen to use while on Accutane? Okay, this right here, I'm sitting on my knees now, which I probably won't be able to do for very long. Okay, this right here was my holy grail moisturizer. I highly recommend it if you're gonna be on Accutane. This was my holy grail moisturizer, and I still probably will use it to the day I die because it is incredible. This is called Vanicream. I got it from Target. I think it was like 13 bucks, and this has literally been the one I think I originally bought. Actually, this is my second bottle. I've literally gone through this. I love that it has a pump because it's a lot more sanitary than like re-dipping your hands in the moisturizer every time. I just use one pump on my skin, and it's pretty much designed for sensitive skin. It's designed for sensitive skin, so like it's scentless. It doesn't agitate my skin at all. It doesn't make me feel greasy. It just was a nice thick moisturizer. So it was great for my super dry Accutane skin. Then the sunscreen that I always used was I got an Accutane facial quite a few times towards the end of my Accutane experience, which honestly highly recommend. It was just very hydrating for my skin. I went to Demery at the Clover Skin Bar, which she's my esthetician pretty much, Demery is, and she's incredible. But she had recommended to me this sunscreen right here. It's called the Sun Better Advanced Mineral Protection. This is SPF 75. Being on Accutane is no joke, and it makes you very sensitive to the sun. So this was one that like I've loved. I feel definitely very well protected when I wear it. So this is something that I still wear to this day. I'm almost out of it, and I definitely will be repurchasing this because having acne's taught me anything, it's that sunscreen is important and it does affect your skin health. And that is something that I definitely have implemented into my skin cream. I can't speak. Something that I've implemented into my skincare routine and I've been very good about. I've probably consistently put on sunscreen for the past 2 years now, which is incredible. Anyway, so those were my 2 holy grails. I also use the Tula sunscreen right now because I'm almost running out of that one, but just in general, wearing sunscreen is great. Always, and especially if you have acne. Someone just asked, was it worth it for you? Weighing the pros and cons, what would you tell someone about it? I tell them my whole story, but I think at the end of the day, yes, it was totally worth it, but it was very difficult and it was a lot longer of a process than I expected. So I just wish I would have been a lot more patient with my skin and with myself. Did you lose lots of hair during the process? I didn't honestly lose like really much hair at all throughout the entire process. It wasn't until I started to go off of Accutane that it was like my body just like said peace out and was literally like, oh, evolve my hair. Someone was just, a lot of people are asking about their eyes, and some of them are saying like that their eyes are super dry on Accutane. That is something that I totally recommend, is if you're going on Accutane, get moisturizing eye drops. Get the ones from Costco. That's the ones I have. They're like in a green box, but they're really nice because you're able to put them in every single day. They have to be preservative free because if you're putting them in that frequently, like every day, then I guess they can't have preservatives or something. So make sure, this is the one that my dermatologist or my ophthalmologist recommended to me. But my recommendation to you is even if you don't have vision issues or you feel like your eyes aren't that dry, literally just put these in twice a day while you're on an Accutane, and that probably could have prevent like so many vision issues, or at least like the dry eyes that I had, because someone had recommended to me the Lumify like whitening eye drops, which was nice because they did make my eyes look white, but it was just a band-aid solution because my eyes were still super dry and agitated even though they looked white now. So what they really needed was to be moisturized, and so definitely get those like moisturizing eye drops, and I think that could help a ton. How long did it take before your skin became clear? So February, March, April, May, June, July. It was like July, I would say August is when my skin was like clear, at least like looked significantly clear. So I would say literally 6 or 7 months before I noticed that. How much did it cost? As long as you have insurance, it shouldn't be anything wild. Also depending on the insurance that you had, but for me, it was about $100 to $150 a month to be on Accutane out of pocket, which is like, it's not that much money, I think, for the sake of clear skin, and it's not that much money compared to what I was paying to go to that esthetician for that year that I went, but it still nonetheless is a significant amount of money. So my mom was very generous and she helped me out a lot with like, she would just pay for it. But then there's a few months that I'd pay for it, so I think that helped out a lot, but I definitely think Accutane is worth the money. Now that I've been off of Accutane for a little bit, I definitely noticed the oils in my skin like starting to come back, but I feel like in a healthy amount, which is nice because I feel like I don't feel so dry all the time now. Either sometimes like I can go without even putting on chapstick and I'm fine. I have noticed now, like if I'm super oily, because maybe it's been like a long day, I will notice like slightly like small little like whiteheads, but they're not under the surface at all. It just might be because my skin's like adjusting to having oil in it pretty much again, but I'm not that concerned about it. I just do my best to keep up on my skincare routine and to keep it simple. It's one of those things, if the acne comes back, it is what it is, and I'm gonna deal with that as it comes. But as for now, things have been very good. So yeah, that's pretty much my Accutane experience and journey and everything that like I had kind of gone throughout it and what led me to choose to go on Accutane, and then what it looked like throughout the course of it. But at the end of the day, you're gonna have to consult your own doctor and see what is good for you. But I think my biggest piece of advice to anyone that's going on Accutane is two things. Is number one, if you decide to go on the medication, know that you're not bound to it. Like you can get off of it at the second you feel like it starts negatively affecting like your mental health or something that you feel like is unnecessary, because it will be difficult being on Accutane, and if you expect that, then like it will be easier to be on it. But like at the end of the day, you can get off of the pill if you don't love it. And then my second piece of advice is that you just need to be patient, because definitely it's something that like I want to see results overnight. Like my skin now is what I wish my skin would have looked like by week 2. But that wasn't the case at all. And I just wish I would have been a lot more patient with myself throughout the journey, because I think I had very high expectations throughout like the first like 4 or 5 months, and it made me constantly like feel even worse about the way I felt about my skin. But I just think be patient and know that things can get better, and they will get better. It just takes a lot of time. So I'm grateful for all of you guys. I'm grateful for all of you that have also been super supportive throughout the entire my like skin journey. And my skin journey is not over. That's the thing that with skin is like it's always evolving and it's never going to be just like completely finished. But I'm grateful for you guys. I hope you have such a wonderful day, and if you're struggling with acne, just know that I get it and that there's so many people that are here championing you and loving you and supporting you, and that like you're not defined by a few pimples on your face. Like you just really aren't. And if someone treats you differently because of that, then like kick them to the curb, because that like you're so much more than your skin. So anyway, you guys are the best, and I'm so grateful for each of you, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Also, if you have any other like questions about Accutane, feel free to DM me on my Instagram at Marla Catherine and we can chat. So bye guys.